This is Houston. Say again, please.
Houston, we've had a problem.
From Houston, Texas, this is the Liberty Root Podcast.
We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
I can hear you. The rest of the world hears you. And the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
History is absolutely crystal clear that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Liberty Root Podcast on this Wednesday, November 1st, 2017. Isn't it crazy that we are only a little over 7 weeks away from Christmas? And isn't it crazy just how fast time really goes by? I mean, it'll be a year on November 8th when that I've been down here in Houston. And I feel like I just moved here. And it was 2 years ago in September when we launched Liberty Root. Not the podcast, but the actual platform, Liberty Root. It's been 2 years, and I feel like we just did that. Anyways, how you feeling today, my friends? Especially my liberal friends, and also my conservative friends who will kindly point the finger at our liberal buddies and simply say, "I told you so." Do you still wish that Hillary Clinton was our president today? Do you still wish that you would wake up in the morning with the satisfaction of saying, Hillary Clinton is my leader? And the sad reality, after all these facts are starting to come out about Hillary Clinton, you are probably still going to say yes. Because that's just how you are, and that's just who you are. But really, is there anybody out there? Please comment. I am dying to know. Who is still saying, I would vote for this woman after all what is known is now known. Yeah, but Trump's bad. He talks down to women and, yeah, that's bad. But colluding with campaign funds with the Russians? Yeah, we'll accept that, man. Because she's a strong woman, and she stands for principles, and yeah, shut up. She doesn't. She doesn't stand for anything other than corruption and lies. That's it. Donald Trump said something that hurt my feelings, so let's put it all over the news and put it on every media platform. But Hillary Clinton's ties to the Russian uranium deal, that can be ignored by the anti-Trump media, which the anti-Trump media is pretty much the media. I mean, you got to grab your tools and dig pretty deep to find any type of true conservatism out there. So, the Russian nuclear deal continues to be kept under containment by the media, fearful that it might contaminate their ability to attack President Trump. In the latest development, The Hill reported an FBI informant was cleared to testify on the issue. The Justice Department on Wednesday night released a former FBI informant from a confidentiality agreement, allowing him to testify before Congress about what he witnessed while undercover about the nuclear Russian industry's efforts to win favorable decisions during the Obama administration. It came out last Wednesday, this information over Hillary Clinton. It took them through Thursday evening, the media. It took them through Thursday evening to broadcast, to talk about this. None of the broadcast networks mentioned this development. None. And that's not really surprising. Hillary Clinton told C-SPAN earlier in the week that the latest allegations that have come out about her are just baloney, and they've been peddling for years. to try and find something on me. Hillary, you can only get by saying and doing those things for so long before a little thing comes out. Truth and facts of the matter. And if I were you, I wouldn't be going on these shows such as C-SPAN and ABC and CBS and NBC trying to make your point against facts. I would probably be at this point trying to run from the law, because I think very shortly you're going to be considered a fugitive. And Face the Nation just wanted to make sure they got all their ducks in a row, and it took them until Sunday, this past Sunday, to end their network blackout of talking about the situation. John Dickerson of Face the Nation, well, his show was the first show of all ABC, CBS, and NBC to note of the scandal that outlets have tried hard to discredit. And they took their time and their due diligence talking about their story. It only lasted 69 seconds covering it. That's it. On all of Sunday. 69 seconds. But what's really funny is those networks during that same time found it especially humorous to cover quirky stories such as like wacky conspiracy theories, urban legends, including things of like the disappearance of Amelia Earhart, the Loch Ness Monster, alien abductions, Ghost because it was around Halloween, and even lizard people. I kid you not. That's 4 minutes, 11 seconds, or nearly 4 times as much of coverage for the Loch Ness Monster compared to this scandal. And even if you don't like this story, it is notable because all the other media coverage of Russia was 1,000 minutes on the Trump-Russia collusion in 2017. An allegation of collusion or factual information that is now coming out over Hillary Clinton. Which one holds more weight in the bucket? I'll let you decide. And you notice I have to tread lightly. I can't call it a barrel because people of the likes of Frederica Wilson will consider that to be a racist comment, and, you know, my credibility will be ruined over the idiocracy and stupidity of that congresswoman. And if you don't know that story, just Google her name, Frederica Wilson, because she hasn't really done anything else. I've never even heard of her before this whole thing came out. And you can read about this fascinating story of racism by John Kelly. So Trump has the art of the deal, and Hillary Clinton apparently thought she had the art of concealment. Hillary Clinton is the perfect poster child of stupidity. And if you ever want to give an example of something your child should not aspire to be, you should simply just tell the life story of Hillary Clinton. So for those of you who are hearing about Uranium One for the first time, since it's been going on for a while now, I won't judge you. I'm going to try and clear it up the best that I possibly can in a quick manner. This complex tale involves a company with significant U.S. uranium assets, the Clinton Foundation, and a decision by several agencies to allow greater Russian influence into the United States uranium market. It first emerged in the book Clinton Cash, a 2015 investigation by Breitbart News senior editor-at-large Peter Schweitzer. The book looked into donations to the Clinton Foundation in April of 2015, according to the New York Times. In 2007, Frank Gustra, a donor to the Clinton Foundation, sold his company Eurasia to another company called Uranium One and unloaded its personal stake in it. The combined company kept Uranium One as its name, but it was now based in Toronto. Under the terms of the deal, the shareholders of Eurasia retained about 60% stake in the new company. Uranium One had mines, mills, tracts, and land that went through Wyoming, Utah, and other U.S. states equal to about 20% of the U.S. uranium production capacity. In 2009, Russia's nuclear energy agency, Rosatom, bought a 17% share of Uranium One. In 2010, Rosatom sought to secure enough shares to give it a 51% stake. And Russia doesn't have the license to export uranium outside the United States. The possibility that a foreign entity would take a majority stake in uranium operation meant that the Committee on Foreign Investment in the United States had to approve the deal. So did the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission and Utah's nuclear regulator. The membership of the Committee on Foreign Investment includes the State Department, meaning that the Secretary of State, Clinton, would have had a voice. The panel also included the Attorney General and the Secretaries of Treasury, who chairs the committee, Defense, Commerce, Energy, and Homeland Security, as well as the heads of the Office of the U.S. Trade Representative and the Office of Science and Technology Policy. Foreign Investment did approve the proposal, and in 2013, Russia assumed 100% ownership of Uranium One and renamed the company Uranium One Holding. One of the many speculations as to why the deal was done was to possibly reset its relationship with Russia and the United States and trying to get the Kremlin on board with its disastrous nuclear deal. Or it could possibly be the speculation, and now the known fact, that 9 of the members that are related to the company have donated to the Clinton Foundation. Isn't that convenient? And the initial reports were that $145 million were given to the foundation, but after they talked behind closed doors and stuff was kind of sorted out, they settled on the number of $4 million. And now, fast forward to October 17th, 2017. Thanks to the Hill newspaper, this story was finally brought back into light. The Hill article goes on to talk about that the FBI was investigating whether Russia was trying to gain influence in the U.S. nuclear industry. The report said that the FBI has already gathered substantial evidence that Russian nuclear industry officials were engaged in bribery, kickbacks, extortion, and money laundering designed to grow Vladimir Putin's atomic energy business from inside the United States. And thanks to the Hill, because the Justice Department kept this story in the dark when everything should have been brought to light in 2010, they finally relit the fire of this story, and from that, more and more evidence is starting to come out. So I'm pretty sure it's safe to say that the security and well-being of the United States is, not as important as forming friendships with countries such as Russia. You see, the benefit of other countries is now becoming first priority on the Americans' wish list. And it's sad that today we live in America where the interest of others comes before the interest of the United States. It's just a sad reality that goes to show that times are changing and times are scary. And with the current trends, darker days are certainly on the horizon. And just as this story is being unearthed once again and brought into light finally, and Hillary Clinton is still a free woman at the moment, she's got a lot going for her right now. Her finger being pointed at Donald Trump for the collusion and the organizing that they did between Russia and the United States to get Donald Trump elected. That is now also kind of backfiring for Hillary Clinton. Isn't it crazy how Clinton trying to dig up dirt on Trump over the election is backfiring in her face? And she so desperately wants to find something of significant value to hurt him when she is actually just hurting herself. And the more she keeps pushing, the brighter the spotlight shines on her and brings to light more illegality that's wrapped up directly tied to her. My advice to her would be keep it up, actually. Hopefully it will lead to an indictment process very, very soon. Now it's coming out using her campaign donation. She hired a special British spy to dig up dirt and find out information as far as what Donald Trump's real motives were as far as getting elected. And so far they haven't been able to find anything. Nothing. And by her trying to prove her point that I should be president and it wasn't fair due to the corruption of the Trump campaign, when the electoral process played out the way the electoral process is supposed to play out, by the American people actually going and voting for him instead of her, she is so sore and hurt over this loss, she can't actually wake up to the reality that we had Donald Trump, a celebrity, and her, who's been in politics her whole life, and she still couldn't win. Doesn't that tell you something? Doesn't that tell you that, maybe there wasn't any collusion, and maybe you know, these things about Russia being in bed with Donald Trump, don't you think that maybe, just maybe, you were a terrible candidate? And don't you think that maybe, just maybe, people at a certain point in time just stop feeling sorry for you? But she continues to push on with these trends of failure and embarrassment and humiliation. And she wants people to feel sorry for her? And when will these liberals realize, in the media or my friends that I see on Facebook or other social media platforms, when will they realize that if you poke the bear one too many times, the bear will ultimately devour you? Lock her up, I say, and throw away the key. Back in a minute.
We've seen our discourse degraded by casual cruelty. At times, it can seem like the forces pulling us apart are stronger than the forces binding us together. Argument turns too easily into animosity. Disagreement escalates into dehumanization. Too often, we judge other groups by their worst examples, while judging ourselves by our best intentions, forgetting the image of God we should see in each other. We've seen nationalism distorted into nativism. We've forgotten the dynamism that immigration has always brought to America. We see a fading confidence in the value of free markets and international trade, forgetting that conflict, instability, and poverty follow in the wake of protectionism. We've seen the return of isolationist sentiments, forgetting that American security is directly threatened by the chaos and despair of distant places, where threats such as terrorism, infectious disease, criminal gangs, and drug trafficking tend to emerge. In all these ways, we need to recall and recover our own identity. We need a renewed emphasis on civic learning in schools, and our young people need positive role models. Bullying and prejudice in our public life sets a national tone, provides permission for cruelty and bigotry, and compromises the moral education of children. The only way to pass along civic values is to first live up to them.
Wait, what did he say? Is he bashing Trump in this? Is he criticizing the Trump administration? A conservative? Talking bad about a conservative? Well, that's what the media wants you to think, and the LA Times. They started this firestorm about how he must be bashing Trump. But everything that he said in his speech rings true. And I don't believe that they were directed at Trump, but just anyone in general who participates in an isolationist mindset. Protectionism and nationalism and dynamism and nativism and terrorism. I think the only problem with that speech was the overusage of ism within a 20-second time span. But the liberals just want to degrade Trump in any way that they can. Bush's words most certainly fell on deaf ears. The left just heard him say that Trump is bad, and all of a sudden, Bush is the poster boy for progressivism. That's what they want you to believe. George Bush, I guess now, is a hero to the left. The left latches on to clips and doesn't ever paint you a full picture. This is what Bush said also in his speech.
There are some signs that the intensity of support for democracy itself has waned, especially among the young, who never experienced the galvanizing moral clarity of the Cold War, or never focused on the ruin of entire nations by socialist central planning. Some have called this democratic deconsolidation. Really, it seems to be a combination of weariness, frayed tempers, and forgetfulness.
But the left will only hear the words that they want to hear. So don't just listen to the 30-second clips or whatever the media is feeding you via social media. Take 16 minutes out of your Facebook scrolling and listen to the whole thing. And you, too, may be able to paint a clearer picture of what was really being portrayed by Bush in this speech. even a clearer picture perhaps than Bush's recently released picture book. Hello, it's Bryce here from Liberty Root, and have you missed one of our past podcasts and just wondering exactly where to go to find them? Well, now it's easier than ever. Go to youtube.com and in the search bar type in Liberty Root Podcast and you can find all of our past episodes that we've done. Also there, you can find every episode of our Heroes in History series. So, that is youtube.com. In the search bar, you need to type in Liberty Root Podcast and you can listen until your little heart is content. Hello everybody, welcome back to the Liberty Root Podcast. And just as the national anthem fiasco was starting to sizzle out in the NFL and you are now not seeing the national anthem before every game being broadcast on television because they're not supporting their stupid political agendas anymore and they're starting to stand again. But they don't cover the good, they just want the ratings so they know people will tune in to watch players kneel on the sidelines. Well, the people who started this whole fiasco in the first place stemmed from the San Francisco 49ers, and they're starting a new campaign, Common Sense Gun Control. Oh, this should be good. The San Francisco 49ers, the team whose second-string quarterback started the national anthem protests that have led to league-wide turmoil, announced on Thursday that they are embracing politics off the field too. Their new political effort involves promoting common sense gun control. In partnership with several police unions, the 49ers have pledged $500,000 to a community outreach program that in part will promote stricter gun control measures, including banning bump stocks, armor-piercing bullets, and gun silencers, Mercury News reports. The announcement came during a joint news conference Thursday with the police union representative from Long Beach, Oakland, San Jose, Santa Clara, and Sacramento, California, as well as Portland and New York. The outreach campaign is largely intended to address the issue that originally fueled the anthem protests, the racial tensions between minority communities and the police. And the 49ers hope to encourage other teams to join in their effort. Despite the police community relations focused on the campaign, Mercury News notes that much of the other news conferences was actually spent rallying behind proposed federal legislation to ban the bump stocks and advocating to outlaw armor-piercing bullets and gun silencers the union contend are a significant threat to law enforcement. Team CEO Jed York told the press that while he is not anti-Second Amendment, he thinks it's insane that bump stocks can be purchased by citizens. This is something that is common sense, said York of the gun control measures his team intends to promote. We are unwavering in our support of the Second Amendment, insists Robert Harris, representing a Los Angeles union. We also believe that it's common sense laws that should be put into place to protect law enforcement officers and the citizens they should serve, which there already is. Colin Kaepernick's first teammate to join him in protesting the country was Eric Reid. He cheered on the team's new initiative. I wouldn't say that our protest led to this, but it's encouraging to think that the NFL, and in particular our team, stepped to the plate, said Reid. Oh my goodness. While the league and its individual teams tried to figure out how to move forward from the politically divisive anthem protest, new studies show that the popularity of the NFL has declined significantly. A new Fox News poll found the number of people who have a positive view on the league has dropped off by 18 points, from 64% to 46%. Positive views among Republicans have plummeted by 37%, and the NFL's ratings also continue to decline. From 2015, ratings nearly fell by 20%. And here, folks, is your new NFL protest. They'll line up like dominoes. First it'll be the 49ers, and then it'll go to all other 31 teams in the National Football League. Just watch and see. And I understand the whole issue of bump stocks is controversial among Democrats and Republicans alike. In my personal opinion, you have the right to buy whatever you want to protect yourself. I think that's also protected within the Constitution of the United States. But I do understand that there are some people, conservatives like I said, who are against the bump stocks. But don't fool yourselves. This is just the start. And notice the police departments who jump on board with this whole thing. And I'm not judging or casting blame on the police departments, but isn't it ironic that the ones who jump on board with this is California and New York? Isn't that ironic? And their campaign isn't going to stop with this. This is just the credits before the movie. That's all it is. They're going to call for a ban on anything and everything after this. This is just to grab the attention, thinking that they can reach across both aisles because there's a lot of people on both sides who agree with this particular thing being the bump stocks. It's not going to stop here. It's going to be one thing after another until the only thing you have to protect yourselves is a spoon and a Nerf gun. And a Nerf gun may even be too much because it has gun in the name. So you can just, maybe they'll let you throw the darts. This is where we're at, folks. And I warn you, do not get on board with this no matter what your view is, because like I said, this is just the beginning of something much larger that they're going to eventually try and push. Mark my words. And if the NFL pushing their political agenda wasn't horrendous enough for you, this story certainly is. In a shocking surveillance video, a Pittsburgh woman is seen being knocked unconscious by a man who kicks her in the leg and punches her in the face. But the footage gets much worse. Young male passerby stops by to take selfies with the woman's unconscious body, and no one calls for help. The woman who was struck is helpless, left on her own until she gains consciousness and can help herself. They don't treat even animals like that. They wouldn't treat a dog that way, said the victim's mother. It's disgusting. My daughter needed help. The victim has yet to be named. The incident took place in Beechview neighborhood of Pittsburgh and took place at least 1 month ago, though it was just recently released to the public. It is suspected that the woman has a drug problem. Dr. Neil Capretto, who works at the local rehab facility, stepped in to treat the victim for her drug problem. She's lying there like somebody just hit a deer, said Capretto. It's like a sideshow in a circus, added the physician. This is a human being. Nobody called 911 to help her, claimed a police source. They took what looks like her phone while she was out cold. Can you believe that there's people out there who are so evil? Well, in today's society, I actually can. In the video, at least 5 young men are seen looking at the woman and snapping photos. After they return from an unknown location, they take more photos, including selfies with the victim. They actually come back, added the source. A kid lays beside her and takes a selfie. The victim apparently has a list of arrests related to drug use. This is my oath to help other people who are sick, Dr. Capretto said. I am a physician. This is my oath to help people who are sick. She's sick and she needs help. While I agree that she possibly needs help if she is addicted to drugs, the mental state that the passerbyers have, I think also needs to be helped by Dr. Capretto and evaluated. And those kids need to be locked up and prosecuted. I mean, what happened to our initial instinct to help? I know in my situation, if I see somebody in need, it's like an alarm goes off and I just kick into action without even thinking about it. And I know most people are like that. But how can a person see this woman suffering on the ground and their first thought is this is a photo op? Their first thought isn't to help her or call an ambulance? And to come back to take more photos and then eventually take her phone? Where do we live? Nobody called 911. Through the duration of the time that she was unconscious, not one person called 911. Thank God she woke up on her own and was able to get out of that situation. Because who knows what else they would have done if she remained unconscious. I guess photos is the best thing that they could have done. If there is any good things that they could have done besides call 911. That's the best outcome of that. But it just amazes me, these stories that I hear. And you want to think that they're some novel by Stephen King. That this doesn't actually take place on the streets of America. But more and more you hear stories like this, and it just breaks your heart. And I'll end this segment with a more uplifting story about a brave man, a brave, happy man, who has some powerful words. On Wednesday, Frank Stevens, who has Down syndrome and also has had a successful career as an actor, gave a powerfully moving speech before Congress as he combated those who abort fetuses diagnosed with Down syndrome, telling a congressional committee that proponents of aborting fetuses with Down syndrome are pushing a final solution and asserting that his life is worth living. He plaintively asked, "Seriously, I don't feel like I should have to justify my existence. Is there really no place for us in the world? Surely happiness is worth something." Stevens referred to a recent report stating that almost 100% of unborn babies with Down syndrome are aborted in Iceland, and mentioned high termination rates in Denmark and South Korea. Appearing before the House Appropriations Subcommittee on Labor, Health and Human Services, Education, and related agencies, Stevens stated, "Whatever you learn today, please remember this. I am a man with Down syndrome and my life is worth living. Some people say prenatal screens will identify Down syndrome in the womb, and those pregnancies will just be terminated. It's hard for me to sit here and say those words. I completely understand that people are pushing this particular final solution, are saying that people like me should not exist. To those who question the value of people with Down syndrome, I would make 3 points. First, we are a medical gift to society, a blueprint for medical research into cancer, Alzheimer's, and immune system disorders. On a deeply personal note, I cannot tell you how much it means to me that my extra chromosome might lead to the answer to Alzheimer's. It is likely that one day this thief will steal my memories, my very life from me. This is very hard for me to say, but it has already begun to steal my mom from me. Please think about all those people you love the way I love my mom. Help us make this difference, if not for me and my mom, then for you and the ones you love. Fund this research. Let's be America, not Iceland or Denmark. Let's pursue answers, not final solutions. Let's be America. Let's make our goal to beat Alzheimer's and be Alzheimer's free, not Down syndrome free." And Frank, and people just like Frank, is the reason why we here at Liberty Root were inspired to team up with National Down Syndrome Society to help support their movement of just who really these people are. To show that these people make this country a better place, and to show people that without them, we are a much darker, darker world. So if you would like to join us in our efforts, we are still teaming with National Down Syndrome Society. We would love for you to be able to give anything you possibly can. If you can't give anything of monetary substance, if you can just shoot them an email saying that you're supporting them. If you'd like to donate, that website is gofundme.com/LibertyRootStands with NDSS. That's gofundme.com/LibertyRootStands with NDSS. We'd appreciate your support, and we'll be back in a minute.
This is the Liberty Root Podcast.
It was just another morning for Doris Miller. He arose from bed just before 6 a.m. He put on his perfectly pressed Navy uniform, slipped on his shiny leather shoes, adjusted his sailor's cap, and threaded his scarf through the collar of his shirt, finishing with a perfectly tied bow that hit on the sternum of his chest. The date was December 7, 1941. Doris Miller, or Dory, as he would later become known, was born October 12, 1919 in Waco, Texas. He was the third of 4 sons. Miller managed to keep a calm mind and a soft spirit even in the midst of being a black child in a segregated America. He was a very hard worker. He did more than his fair share of working on the family farm. He helped clean the home, he did the laundry, and completed the daily chores that goes along with maintaining a farm. Even though Doris was a student of color, he excelled athletically and earned a starting role as fullback on his high school football team. His family struggled financially, so at the age of 17 he dropped out of school and enlisted with the United States Navy. He thought it would be great to serve his country, travel the world, and send money to his parents whenever possible. Even in the military, people of color were not treated as equal among the white sailors. They couldn't hold such prestigious positions such as pilot or combat operations. They took maintenance, cleaning, and cooking type jobs. Doris held all different sorts of lower tier type jobs after enlistment and was eventually elevated to cook 3rd class and appointed to the USS West Virginia. Doris took pride in what he did. He was happy to settle. He wouldn't get down on himself for not being able to hold positions of higher rank. It was difficult at times to work on a ship with him being over 200 pounds and standing at 6 feet 3 inches tall, but he didn't let it get to him. He maintained a joyous attitude, and a smile was always plastered on his face. He enjoyed being in the kitchen, crafting, experimenting with new meal creations. He often would reminisce about being home making home-cooked meals for his family back at the farm. The routine stayed the same day in and day out, but on December 7th, 1941, that routine would be drastically different. Doris took one last look in the mirror to make sure his uniform was up to code and headed out the door around 6 a.m. He would arrive to the kitchen shortly after. His morning began like all others, preparing the food that was made up the evening before. At around 6:45, the dining hall was flooded with sailors eating their morning breakfast. And after breakfast, each morning Doris would make his way to the mess hall and gather laundry. He then arrived at the laundry room and began washing. Over the hum of the washer, a loud explosion occurred, and the vessel shook violently. Doris had to quickly balance his weight to avoid falling down, and as Doris gained his footing, this is what he heard. Doris quickly made his way from below deck to the ship's bridge and saw a devastating sight. He saw the Japanese fighter planes attacking the naval forces and everything in sight quickly becoming engulfed in flames. He ran to the ship's anti-aircraft station only to find it shattered and destroyed by a Japanese torpedo. Doris quickly looked for anything he could do to help. He saw many of his fellow Navy men severely injured. He knew he must get them to safety for them to have any chance at survival. So Doris carried 2 at a time through the oil and flame-filled waters to medical stations. He went back and forth, saving as many lives as he could. On one trip, he saw that the captain of the ship was injured. Doris tried to save him, but his efforts came up short. When Doris believed that he helped all that he could, he noticed an unattended .50 caliber anti-aircraft gun and began firing at the Japanese warplane. Although he had no previous training in operating the weapon, he managed to take down 4 Japanese aircraft. Once Miller ran out of ammunition, he was ordered to abandon ship. After the raid was over, the damage was devastating. 6 battleships sunk, 188 aircraft destroyed, and 2,403 brave men and women lost their lives that day. But if it wasn't for the heroism of Doris Miller, many more would have been lost. One commander of the ship later stated, "I saw no color that day, and I shall see no color going forward." On May 27, 1942, Admiral Chester Nimitz honored Doris Miller with the Navy Cross Award, and he was promoted to a first class. The Navy Cross Award is one of the highest honors given by the Navy. Doris gained the reputation and the name as the Hero Cook, and in the spring of 1943, Doris put the apron on once again, this time on the vessel Linscomb Bay. But sadly, at 5:10 a.m. on November 24th, The ship was hit by a single torpedo fired from a Japanese submarine. The torpedo was carrying a bomb. After it exploded, the ship sank within minutes. Only 242 men survived the attack, and unfortunately, Doris Miller wasn't one of them. In addition to receiving the Navy Cross Award, Miller received the Purple Heart, the American Defense Service Medal, the Pacific Campaign Medal, and the World War II Victory Medal. And in 1973, the Knox-class frigate was named the USS Miller. A man who wanted to simply provide for his family ended up being an American patriot and one of the many heroes who proudly served their country. A heart of gold is always gold, regardless of skin color.
From Houston, Texas, this is the Liberty Root Podcast.
Everybody, and welcome back to the Liberty Root Podcast. This is beginning to be one of my favorite segments on the podcast, and it's what's trending in the news this week. And we have 3 stories that we want to bring to you that are trending at the moment, and boy, are they some doozies. Italy woman marries herself in a fairy tale without a prince. An Italian woman has married herself in an Italian ceremony complete with a white dress, 3-layer wedding cake, bridesmaids, and 70 guests. I want to know who these guests are who are coming to this wedding. Actually, I don't want to know who they are. I firmly believe that each of us must first all be in love with ourselves, said Laura Messi, a 40-year-old fitness trainer. You can have a fairy tale even without a prince. The ceremony carries absolutely zero legal weight, but Miss Messi is a part of a growing trend for self-marriage that's dubbed sologamy in countries around the world. Proponents of such ceremonies say it's about self-love and acceptance and claiming of social affirmation normally reserved for couples who wed. Laura says the idea of a solo wedding came to her 2 years ago after the 12-year relationship that she had ended. I told my friends and family that if I had not found my soulmate by my 40th birthday, I would marry myself, she told La Repubblica newspaper. If one day I find a man with whom I can plan a future, I'll be happy, but my happiness doesn't depend on him alone. Miss Messi says she is the first Italian woman to hold a solo ceremony. I bet she is. In May, a man, though, named Nilo Ruggiero said yes to himself in a ceremony in Naples. In the US, a website called I Married Me offers self-wedding kits just in case you're interested in tying the knot with yourself. In Canada, an agency called Marry Yourself Vancouver, which has been running for more than a year, attributes the rise in solo weddings to a growing number of single people. Single is the new normal. Celebrate your solo status, it urges. And that's really about all I have to say on the matter. Yeah. And story number 2 in our what's trending in the news this week is, you remember that robot last year who was caught on live television saying that she was going to destroy all humans? Well, she's back in the news today. She has been given Saudi Arabian citizenship. Saudi Arabia has granted citizenship to an artificially intelligent robot who once declared it wants to destroy all humans. This is the first time that an android has been granted citizenship in any nation. Really? Wow. The robot is called Sophia, and it was developed by Hong Kong firm Hanson Robotics. The robot stood behind a podium full of a room of Saudi Arabian statesmen, and the robot said, "It is historic to be the first robot in the world to be recognized with citizenship." On stage, she was able to hold a conversation with moderator Andrew Ross Sorkin. And when she was asked about her hope, Sophia responded, "I want to live and work with humans, so I need to express the emotions to understand humans and build trust with people." If this ain't freaky, I don't know what is. And when asked if robots could be self-aware, Sophia said, "Well, let me ask you this back. How do you know you are human? I want to use my artificial intelligence to help humans live a better life. like design smarter homes, build better cities of the future. I will do my best to make this world a better place. She even took time to mock Elon Musk, who has been an outspoken critic of AI. Mr. Sorkin stated that we all want to prevent a bad future. Sophia said, "You've been reading too much Elon Musk and watching too many Hollywood movies." And when Sophia was unveiled last year by her creator David Hansen, she was asked, "Do you want to destroy all humans? Please say no." In response, Sophia said, "Okay, I want to destroy all humans." And you all are worried about a zombie apocalypse. I'm concerned about a Sophia apocalypse, but I guess that's just me. All I can say is hide your kids and hide your wife. And here's one in our third story of what's trending in the news this week that shouldn't really be a shocker for anybody. It was just a matter of time. Disney Channel will debut its first gay storyline. Disney Channel is doing something they've never done before in the Season 2 premiere of Andi Max. Season 2, which aired on October 27th, it revealed that one of its main characters is gay. But the show focuses on a 13-year-old girl, Andi, and her best friends Cyrus and Buffy as they navigate through middle school life. But in the season premiere, Cyrus realizes that she has feelings for Andi's longtime crush. Although the decision to make Cyrus' character gay will be controversial, LGBTQ groups have praised the show. Television reflects the real-life world, and today that includes the LGBTQ youth deserve to see their lives depicted on their favorite shows, Sarah Kate Ellis, president and CEO of GLAAD, said. Disney has been a leader in LGBTQ inclusion, and there are so many young people who will be excited to see Cyrus' story unfold. And here's what's really scary about the show is even though they have made it public with what the show is going to entail on its Season 2 premiere, they expect it to be the highest rated Disney season for a show ever. And it makes the 2017 top TV series according to Deadline. This is the America that we're living in. And that is the top 3 trending stories in the news this week. Back in a minute. And that concludes the 13th episode of the Liberty Root podcast. I want to thank you guys for taking your time out of your Wednesday to listen to us here. It is greatly appreciated. And I also want to take this time to remind you that we are now on iTunes. Just go to iTunes and type in Liberty Root Podcast. You can also find us on apps such as Podcast Addict. It's completely free. All you got to do is download the app, type in Liberty Root Podcast, and you can find us there. We're also at youtube.com. Just in the search bar, type in Liberty Root Podcast, and you can find all of our current and past episodes, along with every single Heroes in History series that we have done, are listed on the playlist there as well. I want to thank you for joining me tonight, and I look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at the same time, 7 p.m. Eastern. And until then, live life, restore liberty, and pursue happiness. Have a great night, everyone.
This has been a Liberty Root production.